So here's something interesting. The first time I ever set foot here in Florida Road was probably around like 18 years ago. This is when a friend of mine actually brought me here for a weekend getaway. We were still students. I mean, I even took a taxi from like a point to this side and I walked some of the CBD. Crazy times. It was quite an experience. But what stuck out for me was when I finally got to Florida Road, how different it was, but still very similar to other really cool, crafted neighborhoods that I knew and understood. Think of places like 7th in Melville. But this had a different vibe to it. It had a little bit more edge, well, at least to me. On that very same trip, I got to pick up House of Curries, or Hawk, and I had my first proper Durban bunny chow. It was quite an experience. And it's something that I actually do love to do from time to time. Too many times during things like Durban July weekends, the vibe would always end up here, at Florida. What I thoroughly enjoyed was how seamlessly things just flowed when I arrived here. Taxis would drop you right in front of the restaurants. Well, they kind of still do. And there were people just walking around, doing their thing. It was really just a good vibe. And at night, it would turn into an even bigger gathering. And every restaurant was super full and everything was just enjoyable. That's the Florida I first encountered. Now, that same feeling I had then, I now have again about Florida. Yes, I know. It went through a very turbulent time for many reasons. Things like safety, the upkeep of the area, and many other issues that just started to bear down on this neighborhood, this precinct. Because everybody knows about that now infamous shooting that took place here. But there is so much more to this place than that. Many people have put their hands into the cement, the concrete that we now see here. The developers, the contractors, and the city managers, they're building a better city, starting right here in Florida. Florida now stands at the heart of South Africa's most notable urban transformation stories. And you know what? This isn't just another video about why it's important to the city. A city that just happens to generate R500 billion in GDP every single year and has 4.2 million residents. This is a video about how there are still people in South Africa and in places like Durban who are changing our neighborhoods and streets for the better. And this is a fine example. The reality is that just over a decade ago, this very street was pretty much struggling with urban decay, unruly nightlife, and a lot of serious safety concerns. A lot of this was making headlines. But when you look around now, this is a Florida road today that's arguably Durban's most successful urban regeneration project. As we walk together down this 2-kilometer stretch of street, I want to show you this precinct, how it became a 1.2 billion rand success story, and why cities across KZN and elsewhere around the country are now looking to copy the very model that was implemented here. These very beautiful buildings that are around us in Florida Road, they tell a story. Look at this Victorian architecture. These weren't just houses back then. They were the homes of Durban's then elite in those days. The Perea was where the well-heeled residents lived, and they left behind these very much stunning legacies of homes, the homes that we can still see today. Look, I'm a big fan of this old Victorian architecture, don't ask me. But like so many urban areas worldwide, Florida Road just couldn't escape the decline. By the early 1900s, these grand homes had become very tight shadows of their former selves. What once was the most prestigious residential address in Durban was sliding into urban decay. Some of these buildings, though, now stand as perfect examples of the first wave of renewal when property developers started buying up these residential properties. They started doing this and converting them. This is when Florida Road started to shift from being strictly residential to becoming the mixed-use precinct that we're walking through today. You can see how the restaurants began spilling out onto these pavements, taking advantage of Durban's extremely, really great weather. But here's where the story gets a little bit complicated. Somewhere in the late 2000s and early 2010s, Florida Road began to struggle again. Uncontrolled nightlife, safety concerns, complaints about noise, and a lot of unruly behavior. The vision of a vibrant mixed-use area was actually starting to fail. Things had to change, and change it did. In 2013, something revolutionary happened right here in Florida. I'm sure if you've been here, you've seen those uniformed monitors who patrol up and down. They're part of what is called the Florida Urban Improvement Precinct, the UIP. These are the people that transformed or helped to transform this area. Local property owners, businesses, and the community groups, they did something simple but powerful. They came together. They formed this UIP to manage the entire public spaces that you see here, from the Jameson Street to Mitchell Park at the top, all the way down to the bottom of Florida Road. They started to control what happens here. I mean, look at just these simple things: pavements, the lights, general cleanliness. This is a very much well-maintained area now. And a lot of those monitors in uniform, well, they're part of a professional sidewalk monitoring service that replaced the old car guard system that came with its own problems. Look, it's visible, it's organized, and most importantly, it now works. But there's another angle to the story, something that you might not actually know. One of the key players in this transformation, see these buildings around us? Well, many of them actually belong to a company called Urban, a London-based regeneration group that's been absolutely crucial to Florida Road's success. They own around 25 buildings just in this precinct alone. Urban says that what makes them different is that they call themselves a catalytic developer. They don't just buy random properties, they buy clusters of buildings to create a dramatic impact in neighborhoods. And the numbers are pretty much staggering. Since 2014, they've put 1.2 billion rand into this area and they've accumulated 200,000 square meters of retail and commercial space. The space close to the top of Florida Road, Florida Fields, is a perfect example of this. It's what they call a privately owned public space with 20 retail tenants and around 3,000 square meters of office space that's arranged around gardens. Throughout the week, this place comes alive with people, music, eateries, and just third space living. What you're seeing as we walk through this magic of mixed-use development is that this isn't just about restaurants and bars. Florida is famous for, well, look around, you'll see it. Offices, shops, residential buildings, all of these things mixed together. Urban has converted 4 of their buildings into what they call plug-and-play offices, supplying around 100 spaces with another 200 that are planned for rollout. These aren't your traditional corporate towers. They're designed for small businesses that matter, entrepreneurs, creatives, people who want the simplest possible lease agreements, same-day occupancy, and straightforward rates. The responses have been incredible. They've been snapped up by first-time business owners as well as creative companies almost at the drop of a dime. This is part of the magic that makes Florida Road special. You can literally work, live, and play within walking distance. You see those apartments up there, those office spaces up there? Look, restaurants right here where we're standing right behind us. It's a complete urban ecosystem. But at the corner of Florida and Gordon Road, we have one of the most exciting developments, one that transformed this precinct for the better. This mixed-use development was actually built where the old Cocos on Florida used to be. If you remember that, let me know down below. This isn't just another apartment block though. 262 has 58 residential apartments, plus retail spaces, offices, and even a supermarket below. Individual apartments range from 44 square meter one bedroom starting at 1.25 million to 121 square meter two bedroom that's at 3.2 million and 110 square meter three bedroom that starts at around 3 million rand. Each unit comes with a top of the range finishes, designer kitchens, air conditioning, smeg appliances, the works, right here in Florida. This development was actually completed in 2021 in record time. The numbers around the 262 development get really interesting. The estimated property value for 262 alone, by my uneducated guess, is between 300 and 500 million. That's just one building, and it's having a ripple effect on the entire neighborhood. It's helping to raise property values throughout this entire area. Then we get to the numbers and the economic impact of this very road. I swear these are going to blow your mind. As you see these restaurants all around us, there are actually over 60 of them along this stretch of 2-kilometer road. And that means a lot economically. These establishments range from local favorites like a Dropkick Murphy's to Next Chapter and their pretty amazing breakfast, at least every time I've had it. And even international brands like Starbucks or even a Pizza Hut. Now again, don't judge me on this because people don't make this type of stuff available. I'm going to use some napkin maths. Estimating that the 60 plus restaurants are likely generating between 350 to 800,000 rand per month. Obviously some earn more, some earn less, but stay with me here. That means that Florida Road, or at least the restaurants that are here, are generating somewhere between 21 million to 48 million rand every single month in restaurant revenue alone. Per year, that sits at around 252 million rand to around $500 million annually. Just this street, this road, just in food and beverages. Add to that, I didn't even count the retail office space, the residential rentals, the hotels. Plus, think about the jobs, hundreds of direct employment opportunities right here in Florida, and even more indirect jobs throughout Durban's economy. But this transformation goes just beyond pure economics. Florida Road has evolved from being primarily about nightlife to becoming genuinely family friendly. During the most recent Halloween celebrations, over 600 local people came out to trick or treat. At community events, you'll see over 1,000 people walking up and down this very street. I mean, right now while I record this, There are a couple of guys, well, a lot of guys, playing basketball on this really well-maintained basketball court. It's public. But with all this, there's another positive here from the investment perspective. Florida Road fits into something much bigger for the city. Durban's inner city renewal project, which includes this precinct and others, is set to receive approximately 62 billion rand in investment over the next 10 years. 10 to 15 years actually. This massive investment is aimed at increasing things like residential stock, boosting tourism and funding major upgrades throughout the city. Florida Road, as one of the flagship success stories, is perfectly poised and positioned to benefit from a lot of this wave of investment. Like, what we're seeing here isn't just a local transformation, it's a template for what's possible across the entire city as well as the entirety of South Africa. The vision of Florida Road's future is even more ambitious than what you see here today. It will get bigger. The city has plans to reduce the traffic lanes to a one-way. I think that's actually going to help. They're also looking to extend the sidewalks where we're walking up and down today for a more alfresco dining experience. Then on top of that, they're looking to improve the lighting and a lot of the street furniture for a more walkable third space and chill space, really. In the parallel streets, well, they're going to add more parking, around 500 to 600 more parking bays. And actually, on top of that, there's even serious talk about a cable car network that could link Florida Road to Point, to South Beach, and even North Beach. It does sound crazy now, but maybe this is what can be achieved when people work together. For me, standing here on Florida Road after so many years, seeing the mix of heritage, culture, and even modern development, the buzz of activity from people, just young kids, old people, families, business people, and tourists alike, all of them sharing the same space. This is what successful urban regeneration looks like. I just hope that it can spread to more and more neighborhoods around South Africa and even the city. This precinct proves that with the right mix of private investment, community engagement, and public support, urban renewal can create something truly extraordinary. Other areas across the country, the city, they can now copy what was done here in Florida, in Durban. They can use this model to build better third spaces in their own towns, places where people gather, like Florida Road. Florida Road isn't and hasn't just been developed. It's been reimagined as a place where Durban's past meets its current and ultimately determines its future. The streets that once faced uncertain future have become a beacon of what's possible when the community decides to build something beautiful together. Thank you for watching this video right up until this point. I hope it was just as interesting for you to watch as it was for us to make. Check out one of these other videos and hopefully they'll be just as interesting as this one. Cheers.